Welcome everybody to the All Gunners podcast. My name is Hazza Khan and I am here with my two brothers from another mother. First of all, Zed, how we doing, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm very, very good. I'm very happy for a multitude of reasons, but the North London Derby is the top of the list right now, man.
We're
Absolutely
definitely going to be getting into
gassed
that. We're going to be getting
about
into
that win. What a way to win it. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. We don't see Zed smiling like this often, do we, guys? So
Nah.
let's capture that now. But look, guys, you might if you look to the right of your screens, certainly to the right of my screen, we have a Mank with us, right? So let's go easy on him. You can tell by the t-shirt he's wearing. We thought we would preview the Man United game on Sunday. So introducing Raheel. How we do, my friend?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I've had better days in a footballing sense, as you might be able to imagine. But
we're gonna talk about the fallout of Crystal Palace versus Man United. They said that they were going to win the league, but we'll get into that a bit later on. Right, guys, let's get into it. Look, today we're going to be talking about a few things, guys, and we've got an action-packed pod on episode 4. We're obviously going to get Raheel in through the pod, but in particular, we're going to be previewing the United game. We're going to be talking about that yellow card tonight and that draw, and let's see if that will have an effect on. Because what was it? It was something like nine games on the bounce that you'd won.
Yeah, that's the one.
Raheel?
That's correct.
Yeah. So they thought they were going to pinch that 10th victory. Wasn't to happen, so we'll get the fallout from that a little bit later on. We have to talk about the North London Derby, guys, and we have to talk about lots and lots of things within that. I mean, we were in Dreamland, weren't we, Zed, on that particular day? So we need to really discuss the fallout from that. We'll also go and talk about sort of a little bit about what's going on the media and news side of things, and how the FA seem to be wanting to treat Arsenal a little bit differently these days, but obviously we'll discuss that in more detail later. And then we are in the January window. We wouldn't be the All Gunners pod if we weren't going to be having a little section on transfers where we may touch a little bit on that M word, mudryk. So yeah. And I know brother Raheel has got a lot to say about that as well, and he'll probably try and take the piss a little bit. It's 2 against 1, so don't worry. Right, guys. Okay, let's Zed, let's get into it. Really, I mean, I want to pick your brains. I mean, look, I've been, and so have you been an Arsenal supporter for a very, very long time, as long as I've known you. We have never seen anything like this. In fact, I'd say, whilst watching it, have we even got out of second gear here in that first half? The ball just kept on bouncing and coming back to us, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Honestly, I have to start from the top, right? I have not seen that kind of performance from Arsenal at Tottenham for a very, very, very long time. And I'm going back all the way to the early 2000s now. I'm going back to 2002. I'm going back to 2004, when we have the greatest team that Arsenal's known since this one. And I am going there since this one, right? Where we've dominated a game so well away from home against our biggest rivals. Yeah. And this is not an easy place. I'll remind everyone, and this was a stat that's being thrown around before the game, that we have a very, very poor record against them. White Hart Lane and at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, they have packed this out. They've got 61,000 people packed into the stadium, creating an atmosphere that is unbearable. You know what our team goes and does there? Move the ball around like they're in a park, like it's Sunday League. Sunday League.
Yeah.
Man, that is beautiful to watch, yeah? From the very first minute till the first goal went in, Lloris was under pressure.
Well, I want to pick your brains before you get into that, Zed. I want to pick your brains on team selection, and I'll tell you why. Is because obviously, probably every Arsenal, probably Raheel probably could have told us what our starting lineup would have been when everybody's fit. But it was interesting for me that Conte decided to go with Sessegnon against Saka at left back, and he decided to obviously drop who he's been playing. Perisic at left back, who's actually been doing, you'd argue, quite well, but also the midfield as well. And I know Bentancur hasn't been fit, but they played a new boy in quite a youngster, Pepe Sarr in the middle of the park as well. And then Eric Dyer as well. I mean, 3 selections that I couldn't really get. When I saw that, I thought, we can't lose against it. This is just a really dire team. Now, did Conte prepare this, do you think, because he was scared of us, or was he trying to be clever?
No, I think Conte set up in the negative style that he usually does. It's very effective. Let's get it right. Conte has got this way of playing football which is results orientated, right? And he will do whatever he can. Remember the philosophy of a football game. If you don't score, you don't win. But if you don't concede, you don't lose.
Yeah.
Right? So he set up with defensive midfielders and what you call Eric Dyer as a centre-back to literally just be defensive and try to catch Arsenal on a break, because he knew the way Arsenal's been playing, they'll dominate the ball. They'll move the ball about until they can create a chance. And once they create a chance, they'll take.
So you're saying Conte was more thinking about us than themselves?
I think Conte did
at home.
At home. I think Conte just thought, number one, Perisic probably can't keep up with the pace of Saka. So he went with someone younger, more energetic, and someone who can bomb forward a lot more than Perisic can. Perisic is a very good player, but I don't think he has the legs on him anymore.
Well, it was an epic fail either way. And before we go into the goals, Ed, I'm gonna pick your brains on that. Raheel, I just want to bring you in quickly here. What did you think pre-game that result was going to be, given the recent history?
Well, to be honest, right, of course there is a recent history of the North London derby to consider, but the fact is, I know from when United played Tottenham as well this season, and the way that Conte was able to line up his play, I could probably already predict how that game would look, because I experienced the same thing you're describing when we played him, where it felt like the ball was always coming to us. It felt like we always had possession, and in reality, the stats were actually even, but it's because we are able to get possession in more dangerous areas. And personally, I think the reason this is because the way Conte plays is he likes to play his way. He has these things called automatisms, which is like his automatic passing lanes. He has these patterns pre-worked out, so he'd like to sit deep and get control of the ball and then work through his pre-planned passing lanes. But what happens is when you have high-pressing teams that can control space quite well, as Ten Hag has started implementing to United, and as Arteta has done quite well over the past couple of seasons at Arsenal, it's quite easy to predict how that will end up looking. And the scoreline ultimately was the same as well.
So did you think Tottenham would get anything out of this game?
I think that the season they're kind of having and how they are under Conte, I don't expect a lot of them. When we played them, honestly, it stopped even being fun after a while. Just playing keep away.
I like that. Stopped even being fun. I like that. Yeah. So look, is that a yes or a no, Raheel? Let's get to the point. Did you think that? You see how he's sitting on the fence here, Zed, this guy?
I'm telling you. Okay, I'll say it straight up. Right, with the form that Arsenal have been in and the way Tottenham played, I didn't expect them to win. I thought they might turn up because it's a derby, and they have done, but I didn't actually think they'd win.
Well, there's your answer.
We got an answer there after about 5 minutes. Thanks for that, Raheel.
But I want to pick up, Harry. I want to pick up on something, right?
Go on.
His tactical analysis is on point there, right?
Yeah.
The possession in this game ended up very similar, 50 to 49%. We actually ended up having less possession.
That's correct.
Than Tottenham did. But the space versus the actual passing lanes is very, very accurate way to define the systems. And I think Conte is so stubborn that he would not adapt his game too much.
Exactly.
He just went with what he wanted. And that's what cost him. That's what cost him.
And as Raheel said, it's clearly not working and hasn't worked, because if you look at the pattern of games, they've generally gone down 1 or 2 goals in most games they've played this season. But what I was shocked at, Zed, and I want to obviously go into the goals here now, just sort of segueing into them, is that I was shocked with 3 at the back and how much space there was. I mean, that dinked ball over the top for Saka. 3 at the back in a Conte system is criminal.
Yeah, well, it's exactly as what Raheel said, remember? He has predetermined pass lanes, so the players know what run to make. But with Arsenal's high press, the turnover is very, very quick. Right? Arsenal don't waste around. If they've got an opportunity, they've got the quality.
Very direct.
Pick that. Very direct. They'll pick it. And we know who the ball's going to go to. It's going to go to Saka. Right? He'll stay on side, he'll make that run, and then he had Sessegnon on toast. Right? Yeah. Sessegnon catches up to him, but there's nothing he can do. And let's be honest, that is a horrible, horrible, horrible goalkeeping by
It
Hugo
was a
Lloris.
disgusting,
Oh my
disgusting
god! I was like, oh, you know what?
parry.
There's no option there. He's just gonna try to blast it into the middle
It
of
was like you
the
said, Sunday
goal
League
box.
goalkeeping. That
It,
wasn't
it, it
it?
was Sunday League. It was absolutely Sunday League, and I was
Was he
quite surprised.
drunk?
I was like, you know what? The way he started the game, it was quite difficult, and I was like, how has the ball managed to get in there from
Big
that?
up Hugo Lloris and his points on his license. Yeah, let's not reference that. We don't want the channel taken down. Just had to get the apology in soon. Yeah, no, absolutely disgraceful parry. I mean, for a professional goalkeeper to parry into his own net, there was a little nick of it. But I would agree with you there, Zed. That I think I think this is where people are not figuring out Saka this season. Is that I think Sessegnon was actually glad to get him on his right. He thought he'd done his job. But what he'd done is actually he'd put in a brilliant cross that ended up sort of taking a little nick and a deflection. I don't think the ball moved enormously. It was a regulation parry out, to be honest with you.
I think the thing is, the reason why that goal is difficult is because Saka's just put his foot through and he said, "Look, I haven't got much options here. I'm by the byline. I might as well take my chance." He takes his chance. The defender sticks out a leg, and since it's coming at such a pace, it takes even a small deflection, just catches Lloris up. But even then, for the goalkeeper of his quality, and well, he's had a wonderful career. Remember, he's a World Cup winner. For what he's seen and done, he should be able to parry that not into his own goal. But regardless, I don't want to spend too much time on this anymore, mate. It was stupid. It was Sunday League. I'm happy for it. That's all I'll care about. Right?
So you'd have thought then the way that we generally have been and what we're used to, certainly at the Spurs ground, is that I was sitting there very, very anxious, thinking about when this Harry Kane penalty is going to come.
When the sun dive is going to come.
Well, exactly. But it wasn't to be, because even after we scored, and this is one of the areas I was impressed with, we just kept on going, didn't we? And then some minutes later, Odegaard with the second goal.
What a bit. You know what? That was coming, because if you saw, just few minutes before he had tried that already, and Lloris made a very good save.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is where I'm going to bring in something very good. Do you know why Martin Odegaard has been able to pick up these space, and he's got so much space that he's able to actually take a shot? We know he's got a good foot on him. He can take free kicks, right? He does take the set piece direct free kicks for Arsenal, right? And he's tried that. But the reason he's got so much space, and the reason why Spurs looked a bit, lost, was because of the positioning of Zinchenko, right? Zinchenko is playing a very, very important role. People think Zinchenko's come in to replace Tierney and to be the left back. That is as far away from the truth as possible. He's come in to be another centre midfielder, right? That's where he's playing. So he tucks in alongside Partey, he tucks in alongside Ben White. We've discussed this in the other pod. The way Arsenal progress when they're attacking, you've got two men at the back, which is Saliba with his pace, recovery pace, and Gabriel. Then you've got a three-man midfield with Partey breaking up play and clearing up everything. And you've got Ben White, who can either do the overlap with Saka, and you've got Zinchenko, who tucks in alongside on the left-hand side. That allows Arsenal to keep the ball and keep trying to prod and pick up that pass.
Yeah, and that's where that ball recycling comes from, doesn't it?
Exactly. You press, you get the opponent to make a mistake in their own half, you recycle the ball and try to find a way through again. As soon as the opponent thinks they've got you on the break, Partey, Zinchenko, White step in, break up the play, recycle the ball.
Yeah.
So it's a very impressive way to play.
Lovely system, and I think that role that you've just really eloquently sort of described, the Zinchenko role. This was probably one of the most prevalent games that role was being played in, because if you look at his heat map, it was nowhere near left back. It was all in that little central area, wasn't it? Raheel, Zinchenko, what's your view on him?
You know what? I'm going to be real with you. When that move came, it didn't really move me, because I never rated him at City either.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, it was something like, Cancelo filled in at left back there, and he did a better job than Zinchenko, and he's like their right back as well.
Who's having a better season, would you say, though, now?
Yeah, but there's multiple reasons for that, and I think Zinchenko is having Arsenal having a good season, not necessarily Zinchenko. I haven't really seen as many of his performances move me. You're describing this one, fine, I'll give you that, right? But throughout the season, I've never really thought Zinchenko was a threat. You know,
clearly he hasn't watched enough Arsenal games, as he said. Let's be honest. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I look at it. Sometimes Zinchenko from outside of the club, if you don't know what he can bring, it can appear underwhelming. He's not one of those necessarily.
But it's, you know, the thing you're describing about using your fullbacks, you know, as essentially pushing up to
inverted,
the midfield, yeah, it is something that, you know, it's more to do with coaching than ability. I remember a few years back, Pep was able to do that with Fabian Delph, and I don't really rate him as a football player at all, but he
did it well. You're absolutely. I think he hit a very good point there. He did that
very
well.
In
fact, I remember thinking at the time that why is this guy still playing at City? You know, but you're right. No, you're absolutely right. I would agree with you there that it is about coaching the role, and you know, we'll probably come on to this a little bit later, and the reason why Tierney isn't in that starting lineup, Zed, but Zinchenko is. But let's move on a little bit now, because we've got obviously lots of others. I really want to give props. I seem like I'm his biggest fan at the moment, Eddie Nketiah. I am. I mean, look, he didn't score, but he had probably 2 or 3 good chances. One of the chances I think should have been a goal. But I think his touch just took it away from him a little bit. Had that first touch been better, that one where Xhaka played him through second half, I think he's one-on-one with the keeper, and he probably just dinks it over the drunk Lloris. But it wasn't meant to be. But what I wanted to get your views on, Zed, and provide my own sort of little analysis is that I don't feel like we're missing Gabriel Jesus. And I know it's a big claim to make. We're still scoring. We're on the same number of goals now, goal difference as Manchester City. So we're not. I mean, not that he had scored in about 5 games anyway before his injury. But look, I think what you don't get from Nketiah, which you do get from Jesus, is that kind of dribbling with the ball and the ability to take on a player. But
it's
what you do,
it's the creativity.
Yeah, and the creativity. But what you do get is, and I have to say that he's improving goal on game. And Raheel, I want to get your view on this in a minute as well, because I know certainly from listening to you in the last few minutes that you've got that kind of the tactical side of the game on lock in terms of your opinion analysis. But I want some support, actually. That's what I want, because I know he's probably going to disagree with me. No, what I was going to say is that Nketiah is what he doesn't have that Jesus has, and Nketiah is making up for his real improvement in the hold-up play, the ability to run in behind, the ability to create chances for himself, the ability to bring others into play, and not necessarily turning into assists. But as I say, I'm watching him these last 3 or 4 games, and I'm like, do you know what? Even when Jesus is fit, if he continues to score at the rate he is at the moment, you wonder if even a fit Jesus may get back into the side. I know it's a big claim.
That's some big claims, man. But okay, let me get into it before we get Raheel's opinion on it. Okay, so if you're asking me the question whether Eddie Nketiah is adequate or more than adequate,
and I want you to look at this game as a blueprint, like in context of the Tottenham game.
I will do. I'm going to look at it in the context of the Tottenham game and the games that he's played as the main centre forward now, right? And we've discussed Eddie Nketiah in the last couple of episodes, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I know you've been gassing him up for the last couple of weeks, right?
Love
and
Eddie.
I've agreed with you in most of the sense. Let's say 70% agreement. But where I have a problem with Eddie right now is he's a more than adequate understudy for Gabby Jesus. Whether he provides the same level of threat to the opposition, especially against top-class opposition, I'm not sure. Okay?
So what about those 2 goals against Chelsea last season, Zed?
No, that's fine. That's fine, right? 2 goals against
you're
Chelsea.
Probably right. Chelsea are top opposition.
Chelsea,
sorry.
Exactly. So going back to the main point and to answer your question in a very straightforward way, I want to quote you to you, okay? You said you need Eddie for Eddie to be the next level up, to be that striker, to be the main man. He needs to have a bit of arrogance, and he needs to start scoring more important goals in the important game.
Eddie being the main man.
And in this game was the game for that. He tried. He had opportunities, And I expected, especially let's go back to the first moment, the first chance Arsenal have when Lloris tries to do some fancy footworks and gets caught out.
Yeah, and it came from
Right.
the
And it
overhead
came-
kick from
yeah,
Martinelli. Yeah.
He has the time. He should be sticking that in the top bins.
I don't agree with that, Zed.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I'm
no,
not
I
having it.
didn't-
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
no.
Even if he pulls that shot off, there's two men on the line.
Well, that's what a striker's supposed to do. You're telling me? I'll ask you this
And it
question.
was a class save from.
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
class save from the drunk. I mean, he'd sobered up by then. Had Lloris.
No, it's a good save. It's a
sobered
good save. But here's the question I want to ask. What's the probability that Gabby Jesus sticks that in?
I'd say even less.
Even less. You think it's even? I think it's more because he. You know what? I'll actually make it better. Martinelli or him. Who do you think would Martinelli have stuck that away?
I think at the height that had come and the quickness of how that had come, I'd think all three would probably struggle putting. And remember, I'm looking at how Lloris had thrown himself at it, and I'm looking at the two man on the line. I mean, you're asking me, could any of those three put the ball? I mean, Raheel, what do you think then? Do you think
go on, be the tiebreaker.
Go on.
Right. Okay. You know what it is? At the end of the day, I think it's important that a lot of people don't appreciate that when you play the role of a centre forward these days, you know, it's different in the modern game compared to just, you know, your traditional out and out big bully number 9. You're like me, obviously. But you know,
didn't you play in goal the last time we played together?
A lot can happen, you know. Very dynamic. Point being, though, a striker needs to be able to do a lot of different things, and hold up play is a really big part of, you know, building up attacks. It's something that players like. I'll bring in my boy in here, Martial, right? He gets a lot of stick for, but he does that well, right? And even in the Manchester derby, right, when he came off, there's a notable shift in how we're able to play because of that. And, you know, even to an extent where players like Firmino, when he plays for Liverpool, he doesn't always get all the goals and he doesn't always get all the credit, but he's a very important part of how they play. I appreciate that. But at the same time, you know, I think a very kind of an interesting way to put it, right? Put it this way. When Zlatan Ibrahimovic first went from Ajax to Juventus, right, he was very much more focused on this kind of thing, but he's also all about the, you know, the flicks and tricks and this kind of thing. And I think it's Fabio Capello at the time at Juventus, I think, and he said to him, like, I can see you're good at all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I brought you in as a striker, and you need to score me goals. And Nketiah's record, I think, what is it, like 6 in like 25 this season? I know it's obviously, you know,
No.
Started all the games.
You misquote. Yeah, that's. I don't think that's correct. I think in the last 12 games, he scored something like 11 goals. It's around about that. Zed, you're the stats man. I'm sure you're.
So the Premier League goals don't read as pretty because most of his appearances are from substitutes bench. Okay,
yeah.
So it's 16 appearances and 2 goals. But if you look across the season, then he's scored about 15 goals. I need to find that stat out, but he has scored a lot more goals this season than he has normally.
Yeah,
but
when he starts, Raheel, when Eddie starts, he generally tends to score.
Right.
Generally,
check that for me as well. The stats are what it is, but I think the thing is, Jesus is a player who, when I saw he'd signed for Arsenal, I thought, like, I held my hands up and said, that is actually, like, that's a damn good signing, that is.
Yeah.
Because I think he wasn't able to have the freedom that he needed to be kind of like, you know, a focal point for attack, you know, at City, because of the way they play. It's slightly different. So, I don't know. I still, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd still be backing him to start.
Okay, but I mean, are you convinced by Eddie at the moment, though, Raheel? That was a sort of question. Do you think he's doing it? Is he filling the void?
Yeah, he's got some promising qualities, but I still think he's a good understudy. I don't think he's necessarily what you'd want at the moment.
Okay, I think that's what Zed's saying. I think that's what you're saying, Zed.
I agree. So I win. Okay, so
listen, taking the opinion of a mank, yeah. Right, you have him, you can have him. Right, okay, right. You want to touch on Ramsdale a little bit, don't you? Before we sort of wrap up this section, and I think what I wanted to say about Ramsdale was that, you know, Gary Neville had named him on Sky Sports as the man of the match, which. Look, he made 3 great saves, which I know you're going to touch on. But I think that sort of flattered the overall performance, because when you look back and you say, "Oh, Ramsdale was man of the match," it feels like that Tottenham were peppering us, which they really weren't. To be honest with you, I think we saw out that game really, really well, and as we have been doing all season, I think the tactics were actually, we've won this at half time and let's see out the game. I'm not sure if I would have probably used those tactics because we know that Tottenham are a second half team this season and they've scored all of their goals and actually attained most of their points in the second half. But you want to say something about Ramsdale, don't you, Zed?
Yeah, number one, just to get that out there, Eddie's goals is 24 appearances and 7 goals, so it's not nearly as good as what we think it is. Now, going back to Ramsdale and the game, are you sure? I think that's has to be some sort of a mistake. I think Gary Neville has always hated Arsenal, and respect to him, he's consistent. He's always hated Arsenal. Okay, but the man of the match on the Premier League and the FPL side is Martin Odegaard. So let's just get that clear. I think that's just a Sky Sports.
Yeah, that was Gary Neville's man of the match.
Gary Neville's
televised, yeah.
The televised man of the match. So, and I do get your point, but one thing I will highlight is those were 3 important saves. I don't think it would have changed the result, but it could have led to some cagey moments towards the finish. Right? If one of those goes in, then we're looking at a Harry Kane penalty potentially, right, to give us 2-2. But he made those saves. That's why he's our number 1. And that's the end of it. I think he played brilliantly. Whether he was the man of the match or not, I don't know. But he made brilliant saves that kept us in the game. And he pissed off a lot of Spurs fans. So I'm happy with that. and he got a kick from it.
Question, please.
Go on.
So I've always just wanted to ask an actual Arsenal fan this, because it just something that was in my mind. But
you got 2 here.
Good. So if you had the chance to have Emi Martinez back, would you do it over Ramsdale?
No.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Okay, so simply for me, sorry, Hazza, before you go.
I was going to say. Go on.
I know you are.
It might be the same reasons. I don't know, Raheel. Let's see.
Maybe. But to me, I think while Emi Martinez was very, very good at shot stopping and he had a character about him, I think he'd been in Arsenal long enough that his career naturally was coming to an end. Arteta made the wrong decision by going with Leno at that point, right? But Martinez wanted that first spot that Arteta didn't trust him with. And I think the main reason was that was the way Arteta wanted to play, which is with a sweeper keeper. And you'll see Ramsdale almost being on the halfway line at points to be the option. I don't think that's Emi Martinez's strength. Emi Martinez is a very good goalkeeper, and that's his best position, to be a conventional goalkeeper. He's very good at stopping penalties. He's very good shot stopper, and he can catch the ball like no other keeper. So I rate him very highly, but I don't think he was the player that Arteta wanted to be his number 1.
Shall I go?
Go on.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's for different reasons to what Zed is outlining. If you're asking for a comparison, I'd agree with what Zed has said there, except for I would say that Emi Martinez is far superior at managing his box than Ramsdale is, as we've seen with this season and last. Shot stopping, Emi Martinez penalties is superior. I'm not doubting that at all. I think with the rest of though, in terms of the qualities around playing out from the back and whatnot, then Ramsdale ticks rest of the boxes. But that's not the reason why I would prefer Ramsdale over. I very much look at players that leave Arsenal. Arsenal Football Club is an institution. It's not just a football club. We are an institution, and we're a classy outfit, or we should be a classy outfit. And if you look at players that have left us, Raheel, even sometimes in not the best of terms, they've generally shown respect for the institution, for the club. Unfortunately, Emi Martinez, following his exit, we actually let him go very cheaply. We let him for what he did and showed and what he has ended up being. Look at the star of the goalkeepers at the World Cup. He probably was worth about 50 million quid, but we let him go for 20 odd. So actually, we did him a favour because he begged us to let us go to Villa. We let him go, and he started to slag us off. Villa were having quite a good season at that point. We were in our transition period. We were in our transition. I think there's some points where they were above us in the table, and he kept on saying, "You see, we are better than them. I've made the step up. You will never be better than Arsenal, right?" Now, very, very quickly, you look at Ramsdale and look at his love for the club. Look at his love for the fans. Look at how his attitude is. It's all driven towards winning and upholding the institution. Whenever Ramsdale leaves, whether he stays here and becomes a legend or leaves and goes to another club, I can guarantee you Ramsdale will still have respect for us as our legends or players that have left us have. Let's move on though, guys. Sorry, Raheel, has that answered your question, mate?
Yeah, I think I covered it well.
Good stuff, good stuff. I sometimes cover far too much than is needed. Look, we've gone over this section a fair bit, but what I wanted to sort of bring in, Zed, really, I want to bring you back in now, and if we can be as brief as possible because we've gone over time, is there is a perception at the moment now where Arsenal seem to be getting their knuckles wrapped a fair bit from the FA. There's been some, I don't know if you know this actually, Raheel. You may not know this, but a few games ago, Zinchenko wasn't playing. He was actually injured. He was dressed in black and he was on the sideline with the subs. And I think I can't remember which game this was, but he was, I think it was a home game. I'm pretty sure it was a home game, but he was out with this sort of Arteta and the coaching staff and the subs celebrating, really, really animated celebrations. Did you know this, Ed? I don't know if you know this. The FA actually wrote a letter to Zinchenko to say you need to calm your celebrations down. You need to calm down with your animation. I don't know if that's ever happened with any player before, but there isn't a theme going on at the moment with Arteta and his antics on the sideline and surrounding the referee, where actually on 2 games in a row we've been charged by the FA for surrounding the referee and what do they call it? Ability to manage your players.
Inability to manage the players.
Inability to manage players. So that's 2 games in a row that's happened. Now, when I watch Premier League football, and as you can imagine, Raheel, I watch a fair bit of Premier League football. That actually happens in nearly every game I watch. But it's interesting that Arsenal get fined for it twice in a row. I think Arteta's also getting it at the moment for his animation on the touchline, and the media is absolutely joining in this really apparent hate for Arsenal. Now, before I ask you and your opinion on this, Ed, I want to just give you a little example. We just talked about the North London derby a few minutes ago, and we were talking about how there was a little bit of a tricky ending with Ramsdale being kicked by that fan. I don't know if you caught this, Raheel, you probably did if you watched the second half, is before the end of the game, just at the final whistle, Richarlison, the number 9 striker for Tottenham, who hasn't scored a Premier League goal all season, ends up holding Ramsdale at his neck, and there's actually sort of video image and evidence of this and pictures going around social media. Now, we are still waiting for the FA charge to go in against Richarlison, which I don't believe we're nearly on the next match day about to start. I don't believe that's come through yet. So there is a bit of I want the views I want to get from you guys is that do you think this is supporting Arsenal? Do you think that kind of backs up against the wall, everyone's against us, that kind of underdog kind of concept is at play here, guys?
Okay, I'm going to go first then on this, as being the resident Arsenal fan that you asked the question of first, before we get Raheel's biased opinion.
I just don't want him to get bored, especially with his green schemes. The green screen's missing now.
Yeah. So, in terms of, Arsenal got charged by the FA on 3 separate occasions now, right? There was the FA Cup win against Oxford. There was the fiery encounter that we had against Newcastle, where Newcastle were the one that were getting more and more feisty as the game went on and wasting time, having more yellow cards than anyone else. And then now against Tottenham. So I do feel like there is something going on, but here's my reaction to it. Good, absolutely. Because this only fires us up, and it only fires the team up. Because when the world is against you, you want to prove them wrong. And this is just serving as motivation. So please, guys, keep it coming, because that's what we will do. Whether Richarlison gets done for it or not, I don't give anything about it, right? Keep on coming. This is my way.
But
Keep
there's a
on coming. It
hypocrisy there,
motivates a player.
though, Zed. There isn't there? There's a hypocrisy there, isn't there?
It
There's
does.
a double
It doesn't
standard.
matter. But if you want to be the best, you have to be the best regardless of who's against you.
Okay.
That's the standard. That's the standard that Mikel Arteta wants, and that's the standard that we will get. To Mikel Arteta, go running up and down the pitch. Do you remember Jurgen Klopp running to the field and hugging Alisson? Go do that. Doesn't matter. Do it.
Yeah.
If you want to be the best, enjoy it. That's it.
Viewers, would you believe that there still exist some Arteta outers out there? Believe you me, they do exist. Yes, I know, as baffling as it is, they do exist. But what we are hearing from some of the Arteta outers is well, actually, I like that aspect about him. I like the fact that he gets aggressive on the touchline and fires the team up, because actually that's what spurs the boys on. Raheel, want to get just wrapping up on this one, because we needed to be quick on this because we went over on the other sections. I want to get your kind of as an external here, not as a non-Arsenal fan, and I want you to be honest here. You know, remove your bias for a second that you are a Man United supporter and you're programmed to hate us. So remove that for a second. I want to just get your view, and it'll be really interesting as a youngster as well. I want to get your view as well. Is that Arsenal are the youngest team in the Premier League with the youngest manager? Arsenal have been playing the best football in the season. It can't be argued. You know, we're up there with the amount of goals the City have scored. You'd probably say that we're playing more attractive football. We're shutting teams out. We're top of the league for a reason. That, as they say, don't they, Raheel? The table doesn't lie. Now, given in the context that I've just given Zed a few minutes ago with regards to the hate that we're receiving, should there not be more props for a team that has the youngest average age, the youngest manager, the kind of the transitionary period that Arsenal in at the moment? Should there not be props coming towards Arsenal as opposed to the hate? What's your view as an external non-gunner?
Well, I mean, this is the thing, right? I mean, like, with regards to the FA charges, I'll say United, we've already been charged twice too for the same reason as well. It doesn't get reported that much, so people don't talk about it anyway, so I'm not really thinking of that deep. We got a charge against Chelsea as well, and we were in the right as well with the goal line technology that check. We got charged for that too, even though we were in the right. So that kind of thing does happen, and I know that I don't like the idea that it gets this much legislation, or like this kind of. They try and deep it way too much, I think.
Let me just give you an example. Let me just give you an example, right? Because you touched on a point there about not having that much media attention to it. On TalkSport yesterday, there's clips going around on social media that Jim White asked, Zed, I mean, this is baffling as well. He asked, do you not think that Ramsdale had any responsibility for that fan coming and kicking him on the back? I mean, it's preposterous, right? And my question to you is Raheel, that is some crazy shit, right? That's actually openly showing a disliking. Shouldn't the media be really going, whoa, what a team, the youngest team in the league with the youngest manager, never managed before, taking this job. And within the third season, he's held them top of the league, potentially on the road to a title, may I say that? I won't say that, but I am saying it, but we're in a title race, right? Youngest squad in the league. Should there not be props for Arsenal, Raheel?
No, you know what it is? Okay, at the end of the day, I understand what you're saying, yeah. The media's job is the media's job. They'll do whatever it is they've got to do. Mm-hmm. And talk sport, I often call talk shite in my, when I talk about.
Fair enough.
They come out with absolute nonsense, right?
Clip him, clip him. I like that. Clip that one. Send it to talk sport. Tag them in. Let's do it. Yeah, go on.
Gabby, I'm coming for you, man. Now,
actually, Gabby's been quite positive about Arsenal, I have to say.
It's not good for us, though. It ain't good for us.
Oh, sorry, I forgot you're a mank. Yeah, go on, Raheel. Sorry.
But what it is right? Sir Alex's philosophy back in the day with the class of '92, they said to him, you can't win the league with a bunch of kids, right? Mm. And his philosophy was, if you're good enough, right, you're old enough, you know what I mean? So it's going to happen when you're at the top, right? You got to adopt that siege mentality of it's us versus everyone else, and they're all going to come against us. Yeah. It's part and parcel of being at the top, that everyone's going to come for you. I think that is something you could learn to enjoy as an Arsenal fan. I'd love to get it back. I love to see the reactions on Twitter after stuff like the Manc Derby, because you get to see everyone crying about the slight technicalities and rules and this and that, and you learn to enjoy it, right? Because that's the best part.
Okay.
And I wouldn't go easy
I couldn't
on him.
agree more. I couldn't
Yeah,
agree
no,
more.
but he's agreed with you, Zed, hasn't he? He's
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
saying, isn't he, that actually that siege mentality, we're actually quite fortunate to have that heat on us because
Absolutely.
because it allows Arteta to go, here you go, look at them. They're against us. Why don't you go? And the team is actually doing that. I mean, you know, and we're going to come on to the Mudryk stuff a little bit later in a few minutes. But I asked Zed this offline, Raheel. I said, do you think that's going to play on the players' heads? Because it's obviously all out now. We're going to get bantered by Chelsea supporters. I was actually happening to play football that evening, so I just turned my phone off and I went to play football. Happened to see a Chelsea fan there, just on they were playing on the pitch before us, and the chap goes, "We don't need him. We don't even want him. We don't know what bloody Todd Bowley's doing at the moment. He's running a wreckery through us. So it's interesting to kind of see that external view, but actually it didn't play on. In fact, it could have been, as you say, Raheel, used as ammunition to go out and say, "Oh, we don't care what the media's saying about us, that we're flops and that we've been bullied in the transfer market," because that's what Gabby said about us as well, Abon Lahore, that Arsenal have been bullied. Well, actually, the next day when we go and thrash Tottenham 2-0, well, nobody's talking about Mudryk, are they?
No, they won't. But mate, we'll come. You want to come back to this because we have something very important to talk about, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, that's what we got Raheel here. So let's get on with that one.
Go on, Raheel, take it away. What's happening on Sunday?
Right, here's the thing, yeah.
Here's the thing. You know, when people start with "here's the thing," Zed, when people start with "here's the thing," you know, like, I mean, he's getting his chest out ready. Yeah, come on, let's go.
No, honest assessment of Arsenal, right? I ain't going to be like, your average reactionary United fan, right? I'm not going to give up hope. I don't think we're going to necessarily lose, right? Because a lot of this is about, coaching a win. A lot of this can be done. We were the clear underdogs versus City, really, in our minds going into, for a lot of people, yeah.
You were.
We have the belief that we can win, but on paper and man to man, we've got Haaland to deal with as well, that kind of thing. But if you go into it thinking you're going to lose, then you're probably going to lose. You know what I mean? And this is the thing. Yes, okay, we got a very unfortunate yellow card. It crushed me, right? So Casemiro's out of the game. But we beat you before without him, right?
Oh, you're talking about tonight because you're mixing up two games here now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the Man City game a few seconds ago.
Obviously Casemiro,
and now tonight's so let's go there
suspension.
first then. I mean, so look, I mean, for me, the maturity in your performance. I mean, what was it, 6-0 that they beat you?
5-0 was it?
5-0 was it?
Wait,
When they played you earlier this season, the first game.
6-3 this season.
6-3, right? So, yeah. I mean, that was a team that was hopeless, that was actually defeated before even starting, and you could see that in their play. But
yeah,
this
and that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So the difference between, let's say, what Conte's doing and what Ten Hag's doing is Conte has that stubbornness and that arrogance to go into these games, not changing his plan and then losing. But you could see a clear shift in the way Ten Hag analysed the previous performance and then has adapted his tactics. He's realised, yes, he likes to play his possession-based pressing football. But if you do that to a team like City, that's what they specialise in, you're going to get your arse handed to you. And therefore, I trust in his ability.
And therefore, he resorted to Ollie ball again.
Yeah, but that's the thing. What he did, right, conceptually, if you want to go into
he
the
did,
tactics
though.
of it...
I mean, Oli Gunnar Solskjaer could have been stood on that sideline, and I wouldn't have known the difference.
Do you want me to run you through this?
Go on.
Go on, let's hear it for the bands.
Right. Ollie Ball, right, listen, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked, right, on his whiteboard, the last thing before his last match was "have fun, boys," right? He had no tactics, really, but pure vibes. Like, have Maguire hoof it up and hopefully pray, maybe Bruno gets a Hail Mary.
The talent will take you through, yeah.
But what happened here in this game against City was a lot different because of the fact that he kept a narrow and tight midfield, which forced Man City wide, right? Man City then tried to create gaps between the full-backs and the centre-backs, right? So they used, like, Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne to create runs in between the gaps. But it's because of the defensive discipline that Ten Hag had coached Fred and Casemiro with. And that was another very interesting move that he did to pick Fred instead of Eriksen.
Yeah.
Because Fred brings a certain amount of tenacity to a game. That means he could track his runners and he could play in a certain way.
Was a sensible decision, yeah.
When we do have opportunities, we were able to take them. And they had, one shot on target in that game. So there's no way they deserved that win, as some Man City fans would tell you.
Okay.
And we did deserve
So
that win.
I think it was a brilliant smash and grab victory. It had shades of volleyball, more than shades, but anyway, we beg to differ. Moving on to Crystal Palace, what happened tonight then?
You know what it is? Football's just
You know what
game.
it is again, yeah?
Yeah, look, it is what it is. That's what I'm telling you, man.
Yeah,
Raheel, before you talk about the Crystal Palace, there's something that I want to get your opinion on. Was it offside?
Oh, I knew you were going to go there, Zed. Do you know? Let me just before you answer that, Raheel. You know, Attar, the other mank that we had on last season.
Season 1, yeah.
Right? Do you know him, Raheel Attar?
Yeah.
He was. I mean, we weren't even talking about it. I haven't even had a conversation about the offside because it is what it is, as you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
He sends me the clip. You know the clip I'm talking about, Zed. The clip of the FA Cup final. You know that one when Ramsey moves out the way and Alexis scores it, right? Yeah. And I said, listen, I'm not even disputing whether it's offside. He says, yeah, but your fan base. And this. I said, he was onside. It was, there's no dispute, Look, if that thing had never happened with Alexis, he's offside all day. Do you know what I'm saying? Right, But yeah, go on, Raheel. What do you reckon?
Go on. Just answer that question before you move to Crystal Palace.
No, that's not offside. By the letter of the law, right? People make this the counter argument. The rationale is, oh, let me Photoshop a picture, take Rashford out of the picture. Oh, look, interference. Yeah, but. No, obviously, if Rashford wasn't there in the first place, the ball wouldn't be played there in that position. No, this is just a way of exploiting a rule, essentially.
So it was offside then? It was offside?
No, look, Rashford was in an offside position, but he didn't play the ball. He didn't interfere with it.
Okay, so Bruno was onside. And he hit it. So it was onside. Okay.
Yeah, that was the goal.
Zed, shall I quickly tell you why it was onside? On the technicality side of things. No. I'll tell you why. It's a very good reason. It was onside, right, purely and simply because it gifted Manchester United the points and took points away from City that helped us remain 8 points clear, and that's why it was bloody onside.
You know what,
I'll take it all day long. We couldn't give a shit what happened. You lost Man City. You won Manchester United. Thank you very much. Good night. Right.
That's why I said no. I don't care.
Right. Okay. Let's move on. Raheel. Right. So here's us tonight. We're a little bit nervous now in terms of, Manchester United. They are the form team at the moment. I think I'd be worrying. I wasn't worried about Tottenham as much as I'm probably worried about Manchester United myself anyway, and City. I think if we played City this week, we probably be going in with more confidence. But actually going in, Crystal Palace puts you within 3 points of ourselves. 6 points of ourselves.
6 points,
and 3 points within City. Okay, which then everyone starts talking about Manchester United in a title race. You started really well. I was in and out of the game, managing things at home and whatnot. But a brilliant Elise free kick makes it 1-1. It was an amazing free kick, right? And also, there's just a small matter. There's been a massive debate going on at the moment, and that's fair enough because when we play each other, they bring the party versus Casemiro debate always being talked about. Was it the big hype? But it's not going to happen, is it now? The Casemiro versus party. Tell us why.
I mean, it never was a debate in the first place.
You're absolutely right. Party wins it all day. You're right. Thanks for agreeing.
The best bit of defending Partey done in his career, that lawsuit against him.
I mean, we can't talk about that on this pod. We for legal reasons, we don't talk about that.
Fine. Right, I'm just saying.
Sorry, I'll have to cut this out, lads.
But what I will say though is that tackle on Zaha, he could have gone to jail for that. It was that high on his knee. Do you know what I mean? Could have been a red.
It's kind of going back to them FA Cup charge. In the heat of the moment, these kind of things happen. That's what I'm saying. So, which is why we kind of have to look favourably upon them in certain situations.
So yeah, did you deserve 3 points tonight, Raheel? Yes or no?
I think, to be fair, the way Palace played and playing at Selhurst Park, a lot of people don't appreciate how difficult it is.
We know how difficult it is. We know how difficult it is.
We've lost there plenty of times.
We could tell. Yeah,
it is a difficult game, and I think Palace deserve something out of it. But I've been so used to United this season.
It's a very compact ground. I'd imagine that the players can feel the spectators around them with the noise that they. I mean, I've been around that sort of that side of London when there's been matches happening. You can hear that they're a very loud crowd. It's very intimidating, and that's from outside of the stadium. I mean, I've never been inside Selhurst Park, but I can imagine the atmosphere would have been like almost like a cauldron, really. But yeah, I mean, look. I think. I mean, you had a chance right at the end. Again, Casemiro, it came off his thigh, didn't it? Just kind of brushed past him. It's one of those days it just wasn't meant to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Looking at the game in terms of footballing terms alone, you could argue, they deserve to get something out of the game. But I've been used to it so many times this season, and in the past as well to an extent, where we haven't deserved a win, but we still get it. And that's what you have to do to
and
be
that's
a
what
top
happens
team,
in football, absolutely. Well, look, beating Palace away isn't for everyone, Raheel, so commiserations on that one. Obviously, we know how that feels. But what was it, 2-0 that we first game of the season, we won there, Zed?
2-0? No, I think it was more than that, wasn't it? No, 2-0. 2-0.
I'm sure it was 2-0.
2-0,
yeah,
yes.
look, Raheel, let's talk about this Sunday now. And Zed, I want to pick I want a conversation on this now. Are you confident, Raheel, going into that game, given tonight's result? No Casemiro. What does that change things for you? Let me ask you that first. The fact that there's not going to be Casemiro.
To be honest, if Casemiro was in, I would have predicted a win for us.
Wow.
Because if you watch him play, if we watch Man United play regularly, which obviously you might not do, but what he is for us, right? He's literally the cement that holds the wall together. He has such an incredible influence on the game. He's played literally every game since he's come here. And he gets Casemiro shouts, every week he plays. You could arguably give him man of the match basically every week. I don't really listen to the Sky Sports or the TV man of the match. They tend to favour attackers or goal scorers, which is fine.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But if you watch who dictates the game, who makes things happen, who pulls the strings, right? I think he's flourishing in this United team more than he did even in the Real Madrid team he was in.
Okay, that's a big claim. That's a big claim. He won pretty Champions League in that team.
I know, but I think he can play better football because he's more. He's given the reins more here than there. Because
you do realize he was playing with peak Luka Modric and Toni Kroos, not with McFred, right?
Exactly, that's the thing. You're getting added level of responsibility.
I think the reason on the eye test there, Raheel feels, is that because he almost kind of stands out here because of the quality or lack of quality around him, really. I mean, Eriksen's doesn't lack quality. He's got,
No, but at the end of the day, right, Real Madrid are Real Madrid. You got to accept that. I'm not going to try and argue that United are a better team than Real Madrid. Man for man, coming from that team to this team, he's going to look a lot better. Yeah. And I actually think he was more underappreciated in the impact he had on that Real Madrid team.
Yeah.
I think he's able to be seen more here, like you said.
I disagree with that. I think he was very, very key to Real Madrid. When Zidane came in, he was one of the first names on the team sheet for a reason.
Yeah, he was key, but how many people said he was? That's the thing.
No, it's not about you're saying the same thing now. Is because he's underappreciated because he doesn't get man of the match. He did the same job at Real Madrid because going back all the way back to Claude Makélélé when he was sold to Chelsea, Zidane said that was the stupidest move you could have made. And when he became manager, that was the first thing he did. He bought Casemiro for 9 million or something very, very cheap from Brazil, and put him in the defensive midfield to allow Toni Kroos and Luka Modric to do what they do best.
Yeah, but
so
what
I don't think
he's
underappreciated.
Look, if you took Casemiro out of a Real Madrid team, right, they could still probably end up winning a game.
No.
I think they could, right?
No,
how are they doing now in La Liga? I think
that's what in his last season. They did have to do that a little bit. They had to rotate the midfield, and now they're doing quite well with
what I will say though, he's absolutely world class at.
Oh yeah. There's no doubting that.
Sniffing out the danger. Right, and just that ability to ping a ball across. I mean, when we're talking about the Partey comparison, there are things that Partey excels at. I think the perfect player is a mold of them too in one. To be honest with you, but we're not going to go down that line of comparing today because there's no point. They're not going to be playing against each other this weekend because of a stupid tackle he made tonight. But I want your look. What? So, where are you now, Raheel? You seem to be a little bit unsure. Casemiro not there. Are you less confident of a win now this weekend?
I genuinely am less confident of a win with the lack of Casemiro.
Are you leaving there with something though?
You know what? I think we can fight for a draw if need be. It's really because, it's such an unpredictable game that the score 3-1 when we played you last time, if you watched the game, which you definitely did, you can agree with me that it was a slightly flattering score. That game could have gone either way, right?
Yeah.
And it was a use of like counter-attacks, the use of space, and actually the way that Ten Hag used Malacia in the same way that you're describing that how Zinchenko was being used. He used him, he tried to invert him. It's very interesting the way that game was played tactically, because they're two very tactical, possession-based and space-oriented managers. And those are big focuses on them. So I think it's hard to predict, it really is. And
how do you think you're going to set up tactically? Because do you know what I think you're going to do? I think you're going to treat us like Man City.
Really?
Yeah.
I think so too. I think because the system is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Eric Ten Hag will try to rely on Rashford's pace.
Did you hear Paul Merson said at the end of the North London derby, the when we win a big game like that, I listen to all the analysis. You usually switch the game off. Yeah, we won. But I listened to all the analysis, the Mersons and your Kelly Coates and all that business. But anyway, Merson said that the way Arsenal are playing at the moment, that if you grab someone from New Zealand and you put them there and you put Arsenal in blue shirts, that person from New Zealand would think that Man City are playing. Right? That's how good we are at the moment.
It's the same system.
Yeah.
I think what people don't realize, it's the same system. And what Eric Ten Hag did very well last time when we lost, the only game that we've lost this season at Old Trafford, was to quote you, Hazza, is play Ollie ball, right?
Yeah.
Narrow. Sorry?
Without Ollie ball against... Are you okay?
Ollie ball, yeah, that was...
Same as what he did on the weekend. Ollie ball without the Ollie.
Look, you guys, you didn't see the kind of Ollie ball that I saw, man. You're seeing some different stuff.
We're talking about peak Ollie ball, right?
Peak Ollie ball, when you beat Atletico, PSG, you know them days, yeah?
Look, transitional play is an important part of football, man.
I'm not doubting that. I'm actually trying to give you props.
Listen, Raheel, this ain't a tactical analysis. We just want to know what's going to happen on the weekend, bruv.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I reckon what is going to happen, right, is he's going to do an Ollie. He's going to set up exactly how you did against City, because it worked. He's going to have Rashford hanging around in that kind of left wing area, because one thing about Arsenal, we're playing the highest line in all of the against all compared to all of the teams, is we've got the highest line, right? And he's going to have Rashford. I think this is going to be a tricky game for us. I really do.
I think so too.
I recognise, though, there's a danger in playing in the same way we did against City, because the fact is, with Haaland, because he is an out-and-out 9 in the way he is, right, if you cast supply to him, you neutralise the threat he poses.
That is true.
The forwards that Arsenal have are the more fluid, the more dynamic. So if you try and sit back against them, you open yourself up to more risk. And that's the thing.
You say that, but Newcastle did it very well. And Arsenal ran out of opportunities.
I think Newcastle are far superior at United at playing that low block. I think Raheel has a point here. I think if they try and go low block against us, we're going to pick them apart, because
we should do. But my problem is, it's historic as well. Whenever it's Arsenal versus Manchester United, regardless of the tactic or whatever it is, the game is a bigger occasion than it is.
This is true. He's right there.
So what ends up happening is, the players get gassed up, the fans get gassed up, everyone just gets a bit more edgy, because I'm on edge.
Emotional.
The game hasn't even started, right? We get emotional, and this game is more scary to me right now than playing a Man City, because I think if we look at the Man City game last season when Rodri scores that last minute, I think we went toe-to-toe with them without having Gabby Jesus, without having
and we went down to 10 men as well. And
exactly. But this game, the way it went down at Old Trafford was a bit shell-shocked, because whether we call it Ollie ball or whatever, Eric Ten Hag will set up in a way to neutralise Arsenal's attackers and their possessional play.
We've got too much fear.
And he will rely on what he has, which is Bruno Fernandes picking up the ball and trying to release as quickly as possible to Marcus Rashford. Do you disagree with that, Raheel?
Yeah, and you know what else he does as well? No, but one thing he might do as well, he started playing Bruno on the wing more, because he can occupy defenders a lot better as well. He literally had him run around, and when Bruno gets it, the space created, he'll just go blast it long. Something like that could well happen. You know what? It actually got me quite riled up now, so I'm going to change my prediction. Right? I'm feeling a lot more confident now. You know, I'm going to say, right, I think it's going to be like a scrappy, tight 2-1 to United, right? And it's going to be 2 counter-attacks, right? And it ain't going to be pretty, but it's going to be, you know, it's going to be fun.
So you're going to shut up shop against us?
You know what? At the end of the day, right, when you have a result, 3 years down the line, 1 year down the line, 1 week down the line, no one cares about anything other than what the score is, and that's what I care about too.
I think that was a brilliant goal from what's his name, Bruno tonight. Brilliant goal.
Yeah, I think we should go for it. You know.
Okay. Now listen, we want that. Listen. To be honest with you, Zed and I will agree on this. Is that you know there is nothing more than what we want there is for you to come and play. Right, and a good, nice, open game. You know, you are Manchester United, Raheel. Let's not forget this. You're Manchester United. You don't go to teams and shut up shop and hit on the break. You know, and I think that gives what you're saying there. And I think you know you will give us a lot of respect, and so you should. To be honest with you, because we are playing the league's best football at the moment. Yeah, we were a little bit undone by Newcastle. We talked about this on the previous pod, didn't we, Zed? That I would have liked Newcastle to come out more, but that was actually a blueprint. And I think if there's any way at the Emirates where we've dropped 2 points there all season.
Yeah.
All season we've dropped 2 points there. You have to give us respect.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's a fact, really. That's not me being a hype or arrogant. You know, we've had bar one game 100% record at the Emirates. So as I say, I think you're right. I think you will come and you will respect us, and you probably will try and nick a goal. And the form that Rashford is in at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if he's moving differently. Right, let's move on, guys. Thanks for that, Raheel. Really appreciate that. And look, we want to try and get you on after the game. If that's okay. You might not want to answer until we see what the result is. We'll see how it goes. Listen, Zed, if you find he's blocked your number and you don't get a dial tone, then you know why. On Sunday around 6:30. Right. Okay. Look, we haven't got a lot of time, Zed. So please, if you can wrap this up very, very quickly. Small matter of the Mudryk fallout, really. Now, do you want my view?
We really have to.
We have to because the man them out there are going to want it. Me personally, I'm relaxed about it, right? You know, there's lots and lots of conspiracies out there. I think we were done over this time last year with the whole Vlahovic situation. I don't think there was ever an intention for the club to go and buy, and there was a lot of PR around that, right?
There's never anything credible around that.
Yeah, exactly. And we were hearing the rumours of him never answering the phone, but that was then. I do genuinely think that the club did go out genuinely to try and get Mudryk. I think there was enough from the tier ones to say there was a lot of time spent around it. My only bugbear with Arsenal Football Club is I don't understand how teams can come and complete transfers within 24 hours, but we transferred negotiating from flipping day one to the end of the window and beyond, right?
We're so much worse, by the way, at that.
No, you're not worse than us at this. I'm sorry. I'll tell you, I'll take an L. I'll take an L, but I won't take an L on this one, Raheel. I'm sorry. We are god awful at sewing transfers up, and I think where we missed out here, I'll finalise on this from my part, is that we've been talking to Mudryk since October, right? Since October, right? Now Chelsea, and let's not go there in the whole thing, we haven't got the time. Chelsea have completed, this is the truth here, they've completed the transfer of Nkunku outside of the window. Completely outside. The window hadn't even opened and they completed Nkunku. So we've been talking to Mudryk. He's been flirting with us. He's been wanting to join us.
He's been twerking for us
from day one. Chelsea go in, and I just can't say it. I can't bear to say anymore. I'm going to let you finish the story off and tell us what's what.
There isn't that much of a story. You've covered everything anyway. Chelsea went in 24 hours. They had
10th place Chelsea have more pull than
10th place Chelsea have more money, right? The 10th place Chelsea talked to the kid, got him on a plane, and he was
The
signed, sealed, delivered.
the kid's not even smiling in his transfer photos, man.
Kid looks like he's been kidnapped, mate. I'm just being honest. Right?
There's some dodginess behind that. I can't lie. But
the thing is, right? We have so Arsenal as a football club have lost out on 3 or 4 targets, big targets that could have helped the team in the past. Let's say 3 windows. There was Rafinha, there was Vlahovic, there was Douglas Luiz in the final hours of the summer window, and now Mudryk. I think the thing is, I get it. I get the frustration from the fan because I have it as well. Why is Arsenal spending so much time talking to these players, trying to negotiate fees? I think the issue is Arsenal went away with that, we're going to put the money where our mouth is and do something. And we ended up with Nicola Pepe, right? So they've identified a player, but he's not the only player. It's about the characteristics of the player, the type of player he is. And you know what? I wish Mudryk all the best, but he's going to be at Chelsea for 8 years. For 8.5 years, he's signed a contract.
Being in prison.
Exactly,
It's a jail sentence.
Right? So the hashtag free Mudryk is going to be going again in a couple of years
on for the next 8 years. Yeah, if Twitter's still around.
We'd never know with Elon Musk, right?
You know what it is? I would like to banter you guys to hell and back for this, and I could, but actually, I think it's the right decision because you don't go and spend like 100 million plus on someone who's played like 9 career games or something like really low like that. It's a January transfer window as well.
There's an argument, Raheel, to suggest that we may have been overpaying for him in what we'd agreed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the problem is, and I don't begrudge our fans for this, is a massive meltdown. Because of the emotional investment that we'd given, and how long, and watching him in social media didn't help him. It didn't help us because we're almost
it helped no one. It helped no one. Now
we're almost there. We're also thinking like, because obviously players do have a lot of power now, and it's like Arteta. I mean, Arteta was convinced, wasn't he? Because in that last press conference, he'd said players decide where they want to go. And that for me, that was like, this is done. Think about the next target. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But I would agree with Raheel here, and I appreciate your you could have answered us and come on here and given us the L. But it's you're right. I think what our fans don't realise that meltdown so badly is that football is a business. Right, and we are fans, and it's not our money, but we have to understand that the clubs are going to spend the money pragmatically, not just around financial fair play, but actually so they can make a profit, because that's what, of course, their model is about. Now, we may not like that, right? But put your energy against the owners then, because actually you can't. A lot of people started blaming Arteta. Well, Arteta's identified the guy he wants. It's for the club to go out and get it. And actually, I agree with Raheel here, is that what I wouldn't have wanted is to go into a bidding war with Chelsea. And by the way, I'll finish on this. I don't think it was even I think those add-ons probably could have been negotiated and resolved. I think the real issue was, and this is what a lot of our fans don't realise at the moment, is I think Chelsea were offering double the wage of what we were prepared to, because they can, because money is no object. But what we have to remember, and this is what a lot of our fans are not listening to or accepting, is that we are trying to tie down 3 key players at the moment to a long-term contract: Saliba, Martinelli, and Saka.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, we start breaking our wage structure for, as he said, an relatively unknown in terms of play terms, right? 22-year-old, and start paying more than actually for someone who's going to sit on the bench, and actually breaks the wage structure of the established players who have actually suffered and done the hard hours. You're going to start upsetting the chemistry of the squad.
And it would have had more negative effect.
It would have had more negative.
That's why when you stick to your principles, there's a reason for why you stick to your principles.
Here's a caveat, though, before we go. If the club don't sign anybody in this window, the club is in trouble, and they've only got themselves to blame. And I think then that's where we would have said, well, you'd have rather gone and negotiated. And I mean, I'm not saying about breaking the wage structure, but certainly going back and trying to resolve, or at least signing a player. Because look, in the transfer window, guys, everybody's for sale. You can't come back and say, nobody was available, right? Everyone. No. We lost out on top 4 because we didn't replace Aubameyang in January. That is a fact. Right?
Yeah.
Had we got a recognised striker, and replaced Aubameyang, we'd probably in the Champions League now. Anyway, it wasn't to be.
No.
If it happens again, if we don't win this league title because of a lack of goals or injuries, it will be because of this transfer window.
I think I agree. I agree with you on the transfer window, but I think the targets that have to be met is more. I would add depth to our midfield and an attacker. We've been linked with Moussa Diaby for about the same amount of money that we were going to spend on Mudryk. I would rather the club refocus and spend the money on 2 players who will add quality depth. That's all I have to say to that. But this is not the transfer show. We can talk about that later. But Moussa Diaby, as good as a player he does seem, Leverkusen don't want to sell him at this time. So I wouldn't say go hard and get one more player who will be relatively on cheaper wages because he's coming from Germany. But the transfer fee and the wage structure, all of that has an impact. So I agree with you. I think not getting Mudryk was the right decision, but not getting anyone is the wrong decision.
Yep, I think that's wrapped up nicely. Raheel, I'm going to do something. I'm going to give you a gift here because you've been so well behaved on this show. And I'm going to big you up, right, Raheel? And I'm going to tell our viewers, our lovely viewers, where they can find you. And I've got you down here as @red_devil videos. You've got your own. Do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's just something I started doing a few years ago. Just like to make compilations, about players, just so people can appreciate different kinds of players more.
Are they mostly Manx?
No, I take requests. So I do everything. I had a Trent Alexander-Arnold fan page ask me to do one for him, so I did one for them too.
Right, enough said about that. Enough. Come on, come on, behave, mate. Right, okay. I mean, have you seen that clip of when Danny Welbeck scored and where the positioning of? I bet you haven't got that one on your page. Right, Zed. What about yourself? Give us your new Twitter.
Mate, everyone. That's the thing about my Twitter. That's the social media I'm least active in. But you can find me on as Zed_Zafar.
Excellent.
That's it.
Excellent.
Simple.
And look, guys, if you want to Twitter me personally, it's @HarryKanu. But we have also actually set up an All Gunners podcast Twitter page, and that is @AllGunnersPod. Nice and simple. @AllGunnersPod. And as I say, and we're always saying, we want to get you on the show. If as I say, we've got Raheel on. We're going to try and get another guest on the weekend to just preview the game again, if possible. If not, listen, guys, I've been Hazza Khan. You've been Zed and you've been Raheel. Thank you very much for your contributions today, guys. Good night, guys, and God bless. See you all soon.